Hey guys, welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. Today we're going to show you how to propagate boxwood from softwood cuttings. And also, I want to point out to you that we got these boxwood clippings for free. All of our trees that we're growing and the cuttings we're making, we've gotten for free. I'm going to spend about the first minute of this video telling you how you can get this stuff for free so you can, like us, grow thousands and thousands and thousands of trees and bushes for free, okay? First off, the boxwood cuttings. I was in town yesterday and I just happened to be going through a neighborhood where a woman was out trimming her boxwood hedges, and I saw the cuttings everywhere. At the moment, I'm working as a courier's assistant, so I'm all over town, so I kind of have an unfair advantage to maybe some of you who don't get out and about as often, but I'm out there every day, and I look for opportunities. I say to myself, hey, if I've got to be out here doing this job for the time being, to take care of my family, which I'll do for as long as I need to make that happen, I may as well see what else I can get out of this. And so I'm always looking for opportunities like this. So it happened to be on my last stop. I asked the lady if I could take some of her cutting. She said, yeah, please, you're going to help me with cleanup if you do. And she said, by the way, you can propagate these and grow more. And I said, yeah, that's why I want them. So long story short, I explained to her, I'm almost finished with my job. I got to go back to the office. I'll come back with my vehicle, pick these things up. It's going to take about maybe an hour. I'll be back in an hour. She said, take your time. They'll be laying here. If I'm not here, just take them. So the entire back of my SUV, which is a Toyota Sequoia, the largest SUV Toyota makes, seats are down and the back is filled with boxwood clippings. We're gonna make thousands of cuttings, okay? A couple weeks ago, if you've been following us, I made the same score with Leland cypress tree. We had a massive storm come through, was in an area where a guy lost a couple big Leland cypress trees. Same thing, I asked, hey, can I come get some of that? He said, take as much as you want. So we've made hundreds of cuttings of this, and we still have more we're working on. Weeping willows. We have some good friends of ours who a couple of months ago said the weeping willow tree in our front yard, the roots have sought out our water lines and they're crushing our water lines. How much will you guys charge to cut down this tree? Because they knew we work with trees. And we told them we'll do it for free. You're our friends in the first place, but secondly, just let us take it so we can propagate through cuttings to grow more weeping willow trees for our little nursery. And they looked at us like we were crazy, and they said, okay. So we've been rooting these in water, and as they've rooted, which these have, we have a place that used to be a garden. We have about 1,000 weeping willow trees growing. Some of them, just for curiosity, we stuck directly into plants. Look at this. 2 months ago, this was a stick. Now it's a young weeping willow tree. And you want to see the neatest thing? We built a green bean teepee for our green beans to climb up with some of the limbs we cut off of those weeping willow trees. And check this out. Are you getting a good view of that, honey? I'm gonna make sure you guys get a close up. All of the poles that we use from the weeping willow trees are actually rooting and growing. So after we harvest these green beans this fall or this summer, and we're out here cleaning up the garden, we're gonna transfer these to wherever we want to put them, maybe large pots or up in the field. Okay, another example, guys. This is a beautiful hickory tree. This sprouted from a hickory nut at the edge of our tree line up there. There's a big giant parent hickory tree. We've got a couple dozen of these potted up. Didn't pay anything for it, okay? And then this eastern red cedar was about this tall last year at the wood line. It was perfectly symmetrical. It looked like a Christmas tree, and I said, you know what, that's a beautiful tree. If it stays here shaded by all these larger trees, it's not going to grow to its potential. So I put it in a pot, and it's doing very well, and we have several of these. A little baby peach tree that came, and we've got a few of these in our what we call our lab, our little nursery, came up from a peach pit in our little peach orchard. The peach ripened, fell off the tree. We never got to it to eat it or whatever. And this spring, this grew up from the seed. We found a couple of these, or several. So that's my point, guys. All this stuff, we didn't pay a penny for any of it. And if you want to propagate cuttings, trees, and shrubs, you can do it for free too. Now, we're going to get straight to the point on how to propagate boxwood cuttings. It's a little different, you know, like the willow, that's the easiest. You just cut it, stick it in dirt, it's going to root. Stick it in water, it's going to root. Boxwoods are a little more sensitive because they don't have quite the high metabolism as a weeping willow. So what you want to do is first get your potting soil ready. Now you can buy potting soil or topsoil at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's about $2.97 for a big 40-pound bag. I looked it up online. We don't buy our soil for this here because we have a large property, about 6 acres, and we make our own mix. My mix for doing cuttings currently, and this has been trial and error, we've been working with several different mixes, but I use 1/3 leaf mold, which we get underneath a big giant oak tree. It's also called black gold. We use 1/3 silt that I get along our riverbank or our creek bank that feeds into our pond, and then I use 1/3 sand that we get every spring washed up from our spring rain season, create some flooding. I'll actually save the sand so I don't have to buy sand. You can get sand for about $1.97 for a 20-pound bag at Lowe's, but this is 1/3 and 1/3 and 1/3. You need the sand so that the plant, the cutting, will be able to have aerated spacing inside the soil so the roots can come out. Now, I'm going to get straight to the point here. I'm going to get a couple of things I need. If you're clipping, of course, your boxwood from your hedges, you need to have your clippers. Make sure they're clean, they're sharp. I'm actually not going to use them for my cuttings other than just to show you and take one of these off for an example on how to do this, because we're actually going to use what's called the heel method with my 2 fingers here, my thumb and my pointer finger, to do this cutting. Now, down here at the end, the wood is very hard. This is older growth. When you're rooting boxwood cuttings, you want to use the new growth. This is why it's called a softwood cutting. So I'm going to go up this growth until I get to the point, Granddaddy Longleg came to tell me which way the cows went, to where we're working with only green. And the roots, when the boxwood roots, are actually going to come out from where stems branch off or leaf nodes begin, okay? And actually that one might be a little bit big. Let me get a smaller one. I mean, that one would probably work, but I want to show you a better example for when you're doing this. I certainly have a lot to work with. Okay, we'll do this one. There we go. Everywhere you see leaves coming out, that's where roots are going to form. And so you're going to want to be pushing your boxwood deeper into the soil than you might a Leland cypress or even an apple cutting, which we've done apple cuttings. We planted an entire new orchard up the hill there from cuttings from our older orchard. Now once you make sure you've got a soft part, and let's say this was still hard or woody, this is what I wanted to show you. Break it off with your fingers. And there you go. You want to go up to the point where it breaks off easily. You notice I first tried down here, that means it was still too hard. You want to get to the point to where it breaks off easily. Okay, that means you're going to have a higher rate of success or a higher percentage of success. And then you rip off the leaves most of the way down, and this is small, and guys, this is going to take a while for this thing to really grow to any account. But you rip off the leaves because everywhere you took off a leaf at those nodes, that's where the roots are going to come out. Now, we use a rooting hormone, and I'm not going to say the brand because the brand doesn't matter. These are pretty much all the same. We buy whatever is the least expensive because, okay, I mentioned I got all this stuff for free. The rooting hormone is not free. So we twirl it around in the dust, knock off any excess, and then we simply come to our pot and we put it in the soil. You can make a little hole with your finger. You can use a stick like a planting stick, but you want it to go down deep so all those leaf node areas are going to be covered with soil because that's where the roots are going to come from. Now I put it at the side of the pot here because I'm going to use this pot to make several cuttings, okay, as I go around. But basically I'm going to do them all the exact same way I did that one. So I'll do that after we're finished recording here. And I actually have a wooden box filled with this type of soil where we do our cuttings in mass. I mean hundreds at a time to save time. But if you're just doing a few, this is how you would do it. And I want to show you this. Now from here, let's say you've got your pot filled with as many as you want to have in there. You want to keep it in a humid environment that stays moist just for the ability for the environment to stay humid. But you don't want to overwater this. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they try to propagate through cuttings, and we used to do it, is they overwater. Remember, there are no roots yet on this plant, so there are no roots to absorb the water. You want to keep it humid to encourage the roots to form, okay? So what you do is you take like a small Tupperware container if you have, and we buy these at the Goodwill, get them in get the big ones for 99 cents. Sometimes they'll have half a dozen of the smaller ones taped up for 99 cents. Or you could use like an aluminum foil baking type tray that maybe like frozen dinners come in, or that you can buy to bake a cake or whatever. But you want something in here that's going to retain your excess water. You put this in here, and then we just use these clear see-through plastic garbage bags. We're kind of making like a small greenhouse here. We're going to put this in here after we add our water. Now again, you don't want to do too much. You just want to do enough water to create a humid environment. So I'm going to water the soil down like this. Now the excess water, of course, will run through and come out and be retained down here. We don't want it running out and disappearing. We want it being retained so it can constantly evaporate, come up and form condensation, and then re-water the plant. Now once we've added our water, we're simply going to add it in the bag. We'll put it in the bag. Like this, and then it's good to go. Now again, we're going to put more cuttings in there, but basically what we've done here is we've created our own little miniature greenhouse. So check it a few times a week. Make sure there's condensation. Now this, we have a place we call our lab, which is like a nursery out back. It stays shaded from our walnut trees. It's fenced off so the chickens can't get in there and the deer can't get in there. Check it a few times a week, make sure condensation is taking place. If it looks like it's not, add a little more water, but again, I caution you on overwatering cuttings. You don't want to do that. So that's really all there is to it. I know a question is out there, you're saying, oh, this is free, you're doing all this stuff with all these trees, making thousands of cuttings. Well, what about your time? Where do you find the time? Folks, I want to point out to you that currently I'm working at least 6 days a week and sometimes 7 days a week. 12 hours a day. I recently just went through a period of 16 days straight without a day off. But we're still getting out here and doing it because we love doing this. If you have something that you want to do and you have something that you love, don't make excuses why you can't do it. Make a way so that you can do it. How do I do it? I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I spend an hour or so drinking coffee as the sun comes up just after 5. I'm out here on my homestead enjoying time with myself, with my own thoughts, having visions of what I want to do, to get our nursery and our garden and our homestead another step forward that day instead of a step behind or staying where we are. You can do it too. So just want to point that out to you. If you enjoyed this video and if you learned something from it, please subscribe to our channel, Homesteading Off the Grid, and we'll be back next time to show you more about all things homesteading.